That stat there that I mentioned, 4,500 people this year that we know about, this barge that's set to be moored in Portland Port, which is a barge off of Dorset, 500 people they're saying in that barge. 4,500. Where are we going to put everyone else if we're not putting them in hotels anymore?
Indeed. In fact, the barge only accounts for about less than 0.5% of the people in hotels. There's also to remember that we house in hotels many Ukrainians who are not refugees. So it doesn't give you a true picture of the people in hotels. The problem the government has is going to, if you look at the trend over the last 2 years, we can expect small boat crossings in the Channel to rise to between 60 to 70,000 people this year. So the barge may be good if we had another about 150 more barges. So we need them up and down the coastline of the UK. It's just another gimmick. Amnesty International said today it's political theatre by the Home Office. And that's exactly what it is. It's the government saying, look, we're doing something, but it's not going to solve the problem. What they need to do is to properly assess genuine asylum seekers within a reasonable time. Those that are not genuine, remove them. Please remove them. They should remove anyone, especially those coming from safe third countries. We have the powers to remove them within 2 weeks. Why are we not doing that? Why are we putting them up in accommodation?
Because, I mean, the public, half of Britons are saying that barges are acceptable housing for asylum seekers. So, were you to poll the public, I imagine building more of these barges. We're an island nation. You could probably build quite a few barges. I mean, is that the sort of thing that we're going to see? Do you think that's going to be the government's response to combating this issue?
No, if we're going to house them for years on upon end, then yes. But we don't want to do that. Look, we need a proper asylum system that considers asylum applications efficiently, fairly, and removes those people who are failed asylum seekers. And that's what we don't have. Instead, what we're saying is, look, the Home Office is saying we're really slow at doing this. We're not deciding asylum applications. So what we'll do is we'll put them up in barges in the meantime. No, get your act together, Suella Braverman. If she's watching this show, please recruit more people, train the right people, decide applications within a reasonable time. I've got clients waiting over a year for asylum interviews. That's 1 year. Now, that can't be acceptable. And instead of blaming asylum seekers, and by the way, you don't need to have documents if you're an asylum seeker. You can come completely undocumented.
But most of my viewers, right, and I know for a fact this will be happening up and down the country, they'll be screaming at their television saying, a lot of these people aren't asylum seekers. They're illegal migrants who have come here looking for work, right? Or have come here from maybe countries like Albania.
Yes.
And are getting lost away from the actual official systems and are getting up to no good. They're saying they're not asylum seekers, so stop calling them asylum seekers.
Indeed, I agree with you. Look, don't blame Albanians for looking for work here. If you have strong deterrence, if I'm an Albanian and I know that if I go across the UK and within 2 weeks I'm going to end up back in Albania, I'm not going to pay the money to go there in the first place. We need effective deterrence, and the only way we do that is have proper, robust removal of those failed, non-genuine asylum seekers.
So then are you saying that, if we have this robust removal, we bring that about, won't it be your profession that seeks to stop that through the European Court?
Look, no. I promote genuine asylum seekers. I will not, and I'm sure many of my colleagues will say exactly the same thing. We want to protect those people that are being persecuted. I've seen over the last 3 years the hearts of this nation growing colder towards people fleeing persecution. It's not what we do. It's just not the British way that we do things. We've warmly welcomed those people fleeing persecution, and we should continue to welcome them in the future.
Yeah, but when you've got 500,000 people net coming here last year, the British people are saying, well, hang on a minute. For people already here, we've got a housing crisis, we've got a healthcare crisis, we've got an education crisis. What are we going to actually do with people when they arrive here? Britain can't ultimately be the end destination for everybody that wants to come here, can it?
I agree with you, but the data doesn't bear that out. Look, we're 17th on the league of EN countries accepting asylum seekers. For every For every 10,000 population in this country, we take 7. Germany takes 14. We actually don't take enough asylum seekers. I disagree with you.
No, but France is rejecting far more than we are, though.
Well, I don't know about who they're rejecting, but the point is, genuine asylum seekers, we should have more. We should process more. We don't take our fair share. And that's a fact. We're way down on the list.
Come on, you're talking 500,000 people came here last year seeking asylum, many of them from Ukraine, Afghanistan and Hong Kong.
Yeah.
That's a lot of people.
No, I have to correct you. Hong Kong didn't seek asylum, neither did the Ukrainians.
Well,
no
Hong
Ukrainians...
Kong British overseas nationals' passports were able to come here last year, so a lot of them did come over here last year.
Indeed, and that was through a scheme that government opened up and welcomed.
Yeah, but they are seeking asylum. They might not be asylum seekers, but they are coming here to seek asylum from Chinese tyranny.
No, they're coming here because the government's allowed them to come here on a special visa programme. Ukrainians were allowed to come here on a special visa programme. No, asylum seekers are a fraction of what we should be taking. And those are the facts. And it's the rhetoric, the misrepresentation of the facts of the British people. If they knew that we actually take a fraction of other countries.
I just want to give you a quote, because there's a quote this is in the Mail today, and it's quoting a Sudanese refugee who told a broadcaster, I don't want to go, and that's talking about the Dorset barge, I would go homeless. And a second one said that he can't move and urged people to protest outside his hotel, actually advocating that there's disruption on the streets of Britain. When people read these sort of stories and people have illegally entered this country, people feel, rightly in my view, really actually quite upset that this is allowed to go on. Because if you are genuinely seeking refuge away from bomb, bullet and all the rest of it, and you're not seeking to flee away from cheeses and baguettes in France, which is what a lot of people are doing because they're coming here from France, then people look at the disrespect for the British taxpayer and rightly feel pretty aggrieved by that.
No, I can understand that. But look, the mindset's all wrong around this problem. People coming here, we have an obligation under the Refugee Convention. We've got to comply with that. It's not like we're doing you a favour by considering your asylum claim. And we've got to get off this attitude that we're doing you a favour, mate, because you're coming here. You should be grateful for, even if we stick you in a barge, you should be grateful. Look, I'd want to be treated fairly if I was claiming asylum in another country. I'd expect the same treatment to be given to those that are coming to this country. So
tell my viewers, how many people would be enough? How many people seeking asylum in your view, should we allow here?
We should be taking 100,000 a year, asylum seekers. And look, that quota seems like a lot, but it isn't. And the UNHCR and the other countries should get together and every country should take their fair share.
And then where should we put them then? 100,000 people, where should they go?
Well, if you decide as asylum application within a reasonable time, which I say should be no longer than 3 months, that's the maximum you should take, then they can work. If they've been granted, they can work, they can integrate themselves into our society. Those that are not genuine, remove them. We've got the powers to do that. Why are we not removing them?
Well, you keep saying that, though, but then when we do actually attempt to do that, it's held up in the courts.
Yes. Look, the ultimate solution is we need an agreement with France. We need an agreement.
Well, that's not going to happen. I'm afraid that's utopianism.
That is the solution.
It's not going to happen because the French don't want the people staying there. They would rather them do actually make the journey and travel over to Britain, because then they're our problem.
Well, we were doing that with the Dublin Convention before we left the EU. We need a treaty akin to the Dublin Convention. And whatever the French need, we need to find out what it is that we need to horse trade with them to get that treaty back in place. And once we have that treaty back in place, if I knew that if I'm coming to the UK from France, I'm going to get sent back, I would not make the journey. That is a deterrent that we need. Not putting up people in barges, not this political theatre. And it's just... It's embarrassing.
Well, hey, I mean, I'm going to say something that's going to make your blood boil, I've no doubt, but I think we need to leave the ECHR, I'm afraid, because I think ultimately the British people should be the ones who can determine who doesn't come here. And I don't think that's anything to do with the EU. Of course, that court is completely separate. But ultimately, you know, Brexit, we voted Brexit for a reason.
As a journalist, you have freedom of expression, don't you? It's because of the ECHR that you have that
Oh,
right.
come on. Before the ECHR was brought
No.
about, we had freedom of expression in Britain.
Well, let me correct you. It's not the case. A leading case that came before the court, the Human Rights Court, is why you have freedom of expression. All because of the ECHR. And look, the rights of the convention are to protect all of us, all of our human rights. It's not just about focusing on asylum seekers. And you're not going to dump the whole thing because of asylum seekers. That would be ridiculous.
We'll have to agree to disagree then. Ivan, thank you very much for your time today.